You're still on to Morning Ride on Jazz Television. We are the People's Pride. Every other time on the program, we've discussed about the economy and how it has affected Nigerians. Matter of fact, all through this morning conversation, Blessing and I have somehow entered issues concerning the Nigerian economy. It is something that even the blind can see and the deaf could hear about due to the cost of living, how they buy and sell, and how they could even get arms. I'm talking about those who beg for them. People might not be so charitable to them, and others might be. If your belief says give to the poor to get more, you give to them more. And if you believe that giving to them means you have less, you will not give to them. In other words, everyone can feel the impact of the economy. This morning, our conversation is on the realities of TINUBU'S economic reforms. And we have with us someone who will do conversation with us on state television as far as this topic is concerned. He is Senate candidate for the Republic of Nigeria for the ADC in the year 2023. He is also Continental Chairman, CEC, and Board of Trustees at Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Europe 2016 to 2020. Committee Chairman, Discrimination Committee, 2011 Legislative Periode. That's how it's called in German. I'd have to brush that a little bit better as the show goes on. Ambassador, Universal Peace Federation, Europe and Middle East. Deputy National Chairman, African Democratic Congress, ADC. He is nobody else but the man wearing a red cap right here with us, Honorable Dr. Kenneth GBANDI. It's good to have you, Chief.
Thank you. It's a delight to always be on your program.
I hope you didn't get dizzy at the whole thing. All your description, because you've done so well for yourself. And we couldn't help but tell it all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to Morning Ride.
Always nice to be on your program. Thank you so much.
You had a topic, sure, when you were told that you have this conversation, you have to do a little check here and there, and you have to prefer solutions because, of course, you are a Nigerian, you have the exposure of being outside Nigeria. By the way, I hope I pronounced that word period properly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My German is good. And as well as you are a politician at the same time. So you must have ideas to these things. The TINUBU'S economic reforms, let's talk about it. The first question that one would normally ask is, what is your assessment of the current state of the Nigerian economy under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Oh, thank you very much. Like I said, it's always a delight to be on your program. And I do not think I dare have the audacity, to put myself in the shoes of Professor Kingsley Moghalu or Professor Patu Tomi, to begin to dissect the economy of Nigeria. Well, like you said, as a common man, as a Nigerian, we have just basic questions we asked ourselves. I was listening to your paper review, and you're talking about the cost of the petrol or the energy, which affects everything in the country. And I was just nodding my head, and I said, "Oh, that's an expo for the follow-up interview." So what I would just basically ask every Nigerian, the past 4 years, we know the situation. The past 4 years, the past 4 years before the 4 years, we know the situation. And I just asked a simple question. Are we better off in the past 8 years, or are we worse off? And I think the answer is obvious. Like you said, even the blind man can see it. Even the deaf can hear that we are in a very serious economic situation. So if you ask me, I don't think we're better off. It depends on what indices people are going to tell you. They always tell you, every reform comes with difficulties. But like I said, probably one can have to see the gains of the reforms, and they probably see the difficult challenges of the reform. If you ask most Nigerians, we can't see any.
Okay, but don't you think that these reforms are inevitable? You made reference to the past administrations in Nigeria. Yes, we would say things were better off then, but still the economy wasn't so good that we could say, okay, we could give it a pass mark. We still had some challenges. And don't you think that this is a case of this present administration having the courage to actually take on these reforms that may be harsh, but at the end may bring something positive? Don't you think the successive administrations, they don't have that, past administrations don't have that courage enough to come up with these policies that will change the economy of Nigeria?
Let's look at what are the key reforms or policies of this new administration. Let's take number one,
Removal
of oil subsidy. And now, why do they need to remove the oil subsidy? It's assumed that when the oil subsidy is removed, it frees up trillions of nairas, making it available for the federal government to invest in education, to invest in infrastructures. It's brings in transparency into the petroleum industry. It reduces corruption. But my question is our road better than it was in the past administration? I think your answer is as good as mine.
Yes.
Is our health system no longer a consultation, a medical consultation, as a one-time military president used to call it after the coup? I don't think so. Our medical situation better than I think. So when we say that we are, we have the courage to carry out a reform, and it's going to eliminate the bottlenecks that the previous administration has not been able to do, then if today you're telling me that the express road from Asaba to Lagos is now one of the best in the country, then one can say, okay, yeah, we can stomach that reforms and stomach that hardship, and at least we're enjoying the road. But that's not the case. And one of the issues of removing the oil subsidy is also to remove corruption. Today, I don't know if corruption is less than where
in that sector, precisely.
In that sector,
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I don't think it's. We have one of the richest man in this country by the name of Dangote,
yes,
and openly saying that there's a lot of corruption going on, where we have a substandard, petroleum product being refined and shipped into the country, and even have to go into a running press battle with the presidency. So so I don't think that in that section.
The Minister of Finance and the coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, recently said Nigeria saved $20 billion. I don't do maths properly. I should have put that in naira. That would get to $1 trillion. I think so. From the oil subsidy removal just recently, isn't that something worth applauding?
Well, if it's a fact, I mean, we have so many people who are disputing that fact, including one of the presidential candidates, who is Alhaji Atiku, and saying that it's not true. And so we have so many people who are saying that even the payment of the oil subsidy persists.
Does Atiku have the authority to say that's not true? But who's giving him that information?
Well, it's subject to debate. But now, tell me, we have saved that money. Let's assume it is true. Have we felt the impact? So where have that investment? Where have we have an investment in that section that we can say that it has cushioned the effect of the reforms that we're trying to do? I mean, every reform, every governance is to make the life of the people better. Okay. And if it's not the case, then I don't know exactly what we're doing.
Do you agree that our Nigerian economy is long overdue for, I'll call it a major surgical operation to help stabilize the economy? Do you agree that the economy is in shambles right now?
I agree that the country is in shambles.
And it was in shambles before the present administration took over.
Absolutely.
You agree?
Absolutely. And when you seek a mandate to govern the people, you are seeking a mandate to make the life of the people better.
Don't you think that it's just barely 2 years? It's not even up to 2 years since this administration took over. Don't you think it's still quite early to talk about these policies and look at them and say these policies are not effective enough?
It's something I always hear about time and how early it is and the rest of them. Nigerians are quick to probably make a negative comparison. Why can't we also think that we have some other governments around the world where they have the same amount of time that we have had and they have made a very substantial progress? That the life of the people have been affected. And so I think I would like us to make that comparison. Okay. That people, governments around the world, I can name a couple of them, who took, who came to power just, even earlier or at the same time with this administration, have done quite some remarkable projects that people can point out. So I don't think it's a matter of the timing. Again, are we feeling the impact of even a little bit of, to give us in the right direction? I see a situation where you are telling people in this country, that things are going to get better, that you're going to tighten your belt. And I see the president going on a mission, on an entourage with a very, very large entourage. I see, a situation where we're investing millions in, renovating the vice president's office. I see a situation where we're buying a brand new presidential jet, and at the same time you're telling the people that the economy is not. I mean, it doesn't add up.
Okay, you mentioned the removal of fuel subsidy as one of the major reforms of this present administration. Now, how does the removal of fuel subsidy compare with similar reforms in other countries? You mentioned other countries. I'm going to bring in other countries like Britain under Margaret Thatcher or Russia under Yeltsin.
Well, again, like I said, when we do such comparison, if you have, we believe that Nigeria is one of the the largest oil producing country in the world, and when you remove oil subsidy, you free up the resources to do so many other things. When you want to compare that to Russia or to United Kingdom, I'm just trying to to imagine or remember at any point in time where in Russia or in Britain I will have a long queue on petrol station because I
okay, Doctor, let me come in now, because before we have these shows, we have conversations really, and we could even think about where you'll be standing, and so we have to think about balance and ensure that we are balanced as much as possible. I'll first of all come with this little philosophy before I continue the question that we are trying to make you respond to. It's like going to the hospital and you have been sick. However, you were asymptomatic. If you're given drugs, you're bound to feel a difference in your body. You feel pains here and there. Whatever palliative you've been using before to cushion the effect of the ailment would have disappeared. If you were not feeling headache, the drugs will make you feel the headache. Eventually, you feel the malaria spike higher and they'll feel the sting every now and then. Does that make the drug less effective? Blessing mentioned some names. Margaret Thatcher, when she came up with some of her resolutions or some of her reformation strategy, it made the entire UK in shambles economically. And now TINUBU has come just 2 years after. It looks like we're all throwing stones. Maybe Blessing and I have gone to the church and said, forgive us, dear Lord, this man might have been a saint. But we want to be sure that this economy is in pain because we can get better or not. So we need you to just share your opinion.
Well, I was trying to, to bring my idea to the end when she asked that question. That when Margaret Thatcher or Yeltsin removed the subsidy in Russia, we didn't see queues in filling stations. We saw that here.
But the economy wasn't.
Well, exactly. No, the point we are trying to make, the essence of a reform. Every reform is very painful. Let's look at, let's even go out from the oil removal. Okay. Let's look at another cardinal point of this this reform. The regulation of the unifying the exchange rate and the naira. What are the benefit of doing that? You're trying to do that to have a floating exchange rate that is almost near to the parallel market. You do that to basically to rejig the economy and the rest of them. And when you do that, and at the end of the day we have capital flight, we have businesses that are supposed to encourage inflow not happening. When you do that and you have the inflation going into how many digits, when you do that and you see the bag of rice, we see the loaf of bread tripling and quadrupling the effect we have, then you ask your question, so where is the cushion effect? When you basically put a surgery, you talk about surgery being painful, and I totally agree with you. Where is the anesthesia? Where is the anesthetics that will make those things a little bit easier for you?
We have some of them. Remember, we have the cash transfers, we have the CNG initiatives.
Excuse me. Thank you mentioned that transfer. Please, can we make a short poll here in this studio, and let somebody, any of us who have received that cash transfer, tell me that I've received that. I mean, I know my circle. I know the people I've spoken with within my community, within my business WhatsApp group. I have not met one single person who has said, hello, I've received that. So when you tell me this palliative, I don't see them.
But the president also advised us to patronize the CNG. He said that that's a cheaper way to go, really. That means they're looking for alternatives. They can't help it with a subsidy from the way it seems, but they're bringing up alternatives. CNG, you could use that. That could work. I know some people changed from their generators from petrol to gas recently.
Let me be very clear. Even as an opposition, I do not think that reform is bad. I do not think that the idea to carry out a reform is bad. The question is always, one, the implementation. I just give you an example. If you're telling me to tighten my belt because it is necessary to move this economy forward, and you're throwing a lavish party at the weekend where champagne, you can just open up the champagne from the tap, then it doesn't make any sense. Because at the end of the day, we are not feeling the impact. So what we are saying is that no matter how noble, no matter how good these ideas are, no matter how, the good intention of this reform, one, we are not feeling the impact, and secondly, it has been basically, implemented. Rewinding back to the first discussion we had, as the first statement by Mr. President is that he's removing an oil subsidy. We did not have the ministers in place. We do not have any network in place. And that spiral effect is still.
Do you support the removal of petrol subsidy?
Again, like I said, I dare not, be one of the, the economic part-automies or the Kingsley Mogulus. But my common man sense, which they explain, that if you remove the oil subsidy, you free out, a lot of, financial, room for the government to implement so many, projects.
So it's a good reform, but the implementation now is the issue.
Absolutely. Everybody's saying the same thing.
All right. Talking about palliatives to cushion the effect of these reforms that we already have now, the president came up with the student loan scheme and the cash transfer we've talked about. Do you think these measures are not enough to elevate the sufferings of Nigerians and to help cushion the effect of these reforms?
I wish it's effective. I mean, we wouldn't be here debating that. You give a student probably a loan, and then probably has to travel from Lagos State to Delta State, probably for vacation, and before now he's paying just 40 naira to transport himself or herself from Lagos to Asaba. And today, he can't even with that money afford to, buy the basic textbooks, do the normal transportation and the rest of them.
Yeah.
And you said it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. At the end of the day, we are in motion, but we're not making any movement. That's what I think.
Right. Let's talk about the way out. What alternative economic or policies would you rather have the Nigerian government do, particularly in order to, help inequality and also to reduce poverty and unemployment in Nigeria? What are other policies you think could fly right now?
Well, like I said, the policies of the federal government on that TINUBU, they look good on paper. I mean, we've mentioned the removal of the oil subsidy, and we look at the demerits and the merits. We look at the unification of the currency.
Okay.
We look at the demerits and the merits. We look at the tax reforms. That's supposed to probably. I remember the president saying when he was running for the office that we are going to spread the tax net. We are going to tax a lot of people and the rest of them, which is actually what they are doing. Widen the tax net to bring a lot of money to the government. But what is the effect? The effect we see today is that the less privileged, the common man, they feel the impact of this tax than any other person.
Yes.
And what are the other multiple effects? We see that the inflation is going on multiple digits. What are the other effects? We see that these effects are being passed on, to the market women because of the transportation. What do we see in effect? The price of rice are going up and the rest. So at the end of the day, you ask yourself, yes, it's a good policy. Then something's wrong because we're not doing the right implementation. We're talking about the good governance. We're talking about fight against corruption. And thank God that after how many years, one of the governors who have been under the net of EFCC is finally appearing in court.
Yeah.
And so maybe one can point out, okay, part of the of the success story. But again, we've not seen any convention yet, so it's too late to say hurrah, we're already there.
Okay. On August 4, 2024, this year, the president listed about 29 administrative policies that his administration has achieved, and this present administration has claimed that they've been able to get $30 billion direct foreign investment into the country. Is that evident in our economy right now?
Well, I'm old enough in this country not to believe everything I read on the pages of newspaper.
You think they're lying? The president said it himself. Well,
the president also said that we are not buying a new private jet. That we are just doing some refurbishing of the old ones. It turned out not to be true. I'm not going to be on national television and say my president is lying. That's not what I'm trying to say, and I dare not say that. But that the truth had to be said that bringing in a direct foreign investment,
Yeah.
we like floating these high numbers. We like floating these, things that will bamboozle anybody who is hearing that. What matters most, what is the cup of rice in the market today? What is your paycheck? What is your paycheck today?
Yeah.
And so let's see, like I said, let's assume if today that we're saying that with all the policies the government has put in place, yes, it's biting, I agree, but you can walk into any hospital today and you have a quality medical treatment. We can say, okay, yes, the economy is biting, the reform is biting, but at least the road from Asaba to Lagos is now motorable. We can say, yes, the economy is biting, but at least the issue of the insecurity has finally been solved. We can understand that, and we can all line up behind the president to say our president is working in the right direction. But you cannot keep telling me floating these billions, floating this policy achievement and the rest of them, and the normal indices that a common man can see still has not changed.
So if it has not changed, what should they do? Should they stop these policies?
Well-
What should they do differently?
For instance,
Because because you applauded the policy, said they put on paper.
what can we
That's
do
not gonna
differently?
work. Yeah.
First, we've seen the large entourage of government officials cut it down.
January, they cut it down 60% this year.
No,
That's
sorry.
That was on paper.
Okay, exactly. So thank you very much.
Cut it down.
Thank you very much.
5 for VP, for the VP.
Thank you very much.
Cut it down.
Thank you very much. That's not the case.
Okay.
So that's number one. For instance,
I just see what I see on
why
paper.
is
So
not working?
cutting down the cost of governance is one
It's
way to
very,
go.
very important.
Okay.
And a robust fight against corruption is another fantastic fight against insecurity. It's very important. And to use your word, to quote your word,
Yeah.
bringing the lifeline of this economy, petroleum, available, affordable.
How long do you
And
think it will take to
electricity.
achieve these things you just listed out? How long do you think it will take to achieve it? This administration is barely 2 years old.
The former minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and the former governor of Lagos State. I'm trying to remember his name, so I don't murder his name.
Former governor of
Of Lagos State, who became a minister.
Okay. Fayode.
Not Fayode. He was former also in the same cabinet with TINUBU when he was the governor of, I've forgotten the name. Well, he said that any serious government, any serious administration will solve the electricity problem within 1 year.
Okay.
He's an APC man.
Okay.
It didn't happen. So, again, that's why I'm trying to talk about paper. He said that we have over housing. He was also a former housing minister. He said we don't have an issue of housing in Nigeria. What we're having is that the ability, to purchase those housing. Today, the UN, the IMF, they have a different, numbers against housing and the housing needs in Nigeria. I have over 2 to 3 million housing deficit, on a conservative estimate in Nigeria. And so, when we say these numbers, and when we say we should be happy with these numbers, again, we ask ourselves.
That was Governor Babatunde Fashola.
God bless you.
And now we're still seeing issues concerning electricity.
Fantastic.
And the power grid collapsing every now and then.
Absolutely.
Speak to how that might have an effect on the common man in the country.
You see, I've said that over and over again. I was in the Pointer a few days ago, and I also stated that also. We're trying to deregulate the electricity industry. We have a lot of, young Nigerians in abroad. We have a lot of young Nigerians here who have the ability to, to go into, little, a production of, power that can also change the life of a common man. Again, the issue of corruption comes in because we have a cabal that actually controls this system, and if they feel that their interests are not being protected, people will tell you that if you ban generator, I'm not like I said, I'm not an economist, but if you ban generator in this country today, that probably within the next 6 months the power supply will be steady.
That was how they spoke about removing subsidy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why I say exactly the corruption, the political will to do things, and if we have the will. So, getting back to your question,
I know we have very. Okay, go ahead.
No, getting it right means start with the basics: rule of law, accountability, transparency, issue of security. Get these things right.
Yeah, talking about accountability and transparency, some Nigerians actually, they believe in what you have said, that this administration doesn't need as much as 3-4 years to change the economic fortunes of the country. And for someone like our president, who had this presidency as a lifelong ambition, his popular slogan during campaign was "Emilokon, it was my turn to be president." One would think that he should have been very prepared before becoming president of Nigeria. But he's still standing on these reforms. He's still begging Nigerians to be patient, that these reforms will eventually change the narrative. So do you think this administration should do more to communicate with the public the necessity of these reforms?
The answer is yes, number one. But basically, rather than doing more to convince Nigeria, show by leadership. It's a very simple matter. We can, you can bring in all your hard journalistic questions. You can twist it whichever way you want to twist it. Show us that. You see, let me reverse back. Again, I'm on national television. God forbid that I'm not calling for going back to the military role. But remember the times of a year ago, where he has to be in the office by 7 o'clock before everybody. From the report we had, you do not need to tell your director that by 7 o'clock you need to be in the office. Nobody needs to tell you.
Leadership by example.
Leadership by example. Don't tell us to tighten our belt and you do something different.
Okay, let's get back to our side. We were talking about the president here and there. What should private personalities do to help the economy?
Well, again, I don't know what I should say in the public so that we don't look as if it's an advertisement. I will use myself as an example. I am from the school of thought. I believe that government cannot solve all the problems.
Okay.
That individuals have to take up their own initiative.
Even opposition parties too should do things.
I don't get you.
Even opposition parties too should try to make moves to help the economy, not just critique.
Exactly. As I speak to you, I have set up what I call a diaspora city in Akuku axis.
I heard about Akuku.
Diaspora city.
Okay.
And as I speak to you now, we're having the issue of the cattle rearers vandalizing every block we put in place. We have the issues of some OFULUE boys who are actually going on vandalism and the rest of them. And this has been the individual effort we make. But even as we speak, on the 28th of December, I'm convening an Akukwibo Economic Summit.
Okay.
Where I'm trying to build a partnership between the Akukwibos in the diaspora, the international community, and the locals in Akukwibo. Where we're going to look at a roadmap, do a SWOT analysis of the community.
Okay.
What are our strengths? What can we do? And I'm happy that by the grace of God, we're going to have Senator Ned Nwoko, who of course I contested against, coming because it's our senator. We're going to have Ngozi Okolie, who is a House of our representative. They're all going to be there because we want to sit down together and say, we want to support your constituency project. We want to know exactly, what your plan are. Let us form a partnership, to be able to drive this economic. So that's how I say it.
Doctor, I must say that I must first of all commend you on that, because we've been clamoring, appealing to opposition parties, not just to sit back and critique, but to be part of the process. If you can't get there, don't pull it down. Instead, help to lift it up. That's a very good move of yours.
Thank you.
And we hope that the economic summit turns out to affect the entire polity and bring the change that we need. But as someone who has been in Germany, you've spent so much time in Germany, you've seen how that place works. What have you done to bring some of those things back here in this part of the world? Quickly before we say goodbye to you.
I just give you an example, one or two ones where we have on plan.
Yeah.
I can remember that when our former governor was on seat, I came in with a group of investors who are ready to produce power for this state at no single cost to the state, only to have a partnership of undertake the production of the. It didn't work out.
You can keep pushing.
We are not giving up. We are not giving up.
All right. Bless. I know your plans. They're of good, and you want to keep asking all these questions.
Yeah, I just want to ask him a last question.
One more.
It has to be to Nigerians.
Okay.
President Tinubu actually described these reforms as a painful exercise that would yield long-term results. Do you believe that Nigerians should remain hopeful?
We agree that the reforms are painful, but Nigerians need, the Panadols and the Fensic that can let us to bear these pains. Otherwise, it becomes a T-pain.
That's a word they don't want to hear anymore. But thank you so much for doing us noble on this conversation. I know we were not so sweet, but we had to get the answers and we had to be sure that the economy can work. From what you're saying, it's good on paper, but you must practice what you preach. You must lead by example. You must Idia-born Nigerians. You have to be at work at 7 o'clock to ensure others are at work at 7 o'clock or even before 7 o'clock. You must do what you're talking about. Thank you so much. We've been talking to one who is very much experienced, maybe not an economist, but with the experience he has, he's preferring ways that can make Nigeria better. If you were part of the journey when we started the interview, you'd have heard that he is Senate candidate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That was in 2023. Continental Chairman, CEC, and Board of Trustees, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Europe, 2016 to 2020, and Committee Chairman, Discrimination Committee, 2011 Legislative Period Day, Ambassador, Universal Peace Federation, Europe and Middle East, Deputy National Chairman, African Democratic Congress, ADC. He is no one else but Honorable Dr. Kenneth GBANDI, CEO, African German Information Center. If you missed this interview, you should stay with Delta Television because we just might play it again. That's all on the conversation this morning. I'll have a handshake and say goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
What a delight.
What a delight.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
coming,
much.
sir.
A delight, but it was very hard. I'm going to
From Leicester this morning.
Yes, it's been a wonderful and smooth ride this morning. Thank you so much for joining us while we've talked about the economic reforms of the federal government. Let us play our part as citizens as well. Let's be good citizens. Let's love ourselves. Let's remain in unity. I am Blessing OSIAGBADA saying thank you for joining us and goodbye for now.
Goodbye for now. I'll support everything Blessing said, and I'll say that I believe in heaven more than hell, in happiness more than sadness. I believe that Nigeria could get better than all the tears that we shed, and say that things would never go better for the country. We would stand, but first we must believe in ourselves. My name is Francis OFULUE. Good morning. Goodbye.